Good morning, San Francisco, and welcome. My name is Jaime Rojas, and I'm the spokesperson for Let's Be Real San Francisco, which you can see is a diverse coalition of our partners here in San Francisco working to undo what will be known as the devastating effects of San Francisco flavored tobacco sales prohibition. As you know, last month, the Board of Supervisors passed and the mayor signed into law an ordinance banning the sales of a number of products, including menthol cigarettes, flavored e-cigarettes, and vapor products. The threat to the livelihoods of local businesses, to local generated revenue, to the effort to tobacco harm reduction were immediately clear, as well likely the growth of unregulated black market to the products that soon will become illegal to sell. Quickly, this organization got together and said no to the impact of this ordinance. It's too much for politicians alone to impose on San Francisco, and the voters needed to have their say. In just a few weeks, we were able to gather nearly 34,000 signatures from San Francisco voters, far more than the approximately 19,000 that were necessarily required to qualify this referendum. To speak to why we're doing this in the coalition building, we've invited several speakers from our diverse coalition. Let me first introduce to you Miriam Savannah, a member of the City Small Business Coalition and a board member of the Arab American Grocers Association, as well as her family who owns and operates Ted's Market here in the city of San Francisco for many years. Miriam?
Hello, my name is Miriam Savannah. My family runs a corner store just a few blocks away from here, and I also sit on the Small Business Commission for the City and County of San Francisco. We're in a moment where social justice issues have become self-propelling loops of special interest and political maneuvering. Context gets abstracted and actual needs get ignored. I've seen an unfortunate amount of legislation that has a progressive moral intent, yet creates a conservatizing backlash as the economic dimension is ignored. Our livelihoods and our well-being are directly connected to our material reality and the labor that reproduces our lives. The power relations in this conversation have been grossly rearranged. A ban on flavored tobacco is an attack on working families, on immigrants, on our civil liberties, and our rights as tax-paying citizens. If not a blatant attempt to forcibly shape a city, it is an inevitable fact that it will lead to more gentrification and displacement. There's little accountability to the taxes and fees levied onto corner stores, with options to waive onerous fees we are not informed about, archaic statutes, even something as trite as an incoming phone call amounts to a violation, let alone the procession of slurs and presumption that has been strewn at store owners and how this behavior seems perfectly acceptable for some reason. We feel there is still so much more the city owes us in terms of an explanation of their logic. Why are we not banning labeling? There are precedents in existing law that refer to particular signage and advertising, even that was discussed in committee. We are already legally restricted from certain types of advertisements and accessible tabletop displays of products. Why not expand that particular precedent to address the concerns of seductive packaging? Why did the sponsors not entertain substantive amendments that merely give consideration to the amount of time these stores will need to default on a lease, or sell off inventory that they have already paid taxes on, or possibly recreate a completely different business model, which, mind you, for an old-timer that's been behind the counter for 30 years, that's not an easy task. Will this follow with an already drafted ban on filtered cigarettes, which, mind you, is another redundant piece of legislation, as the Comptroller's Office already says this small corner stores alone pay over $6 million in fees to the city for cigarette butt cleanup. In the last 5 years, in the last couple of years, there have been 5 laws that, in the last year actually, there have been 5 laws that have sought to address the same health policy goals, including contradicting policy processes like Article 19H, which prompts a long-term phase-out of tobacco licenses and counteracts an immediate prohibition. Again, let us note that 19H has already restricted many stores from selling their license and retiring. So again, we ask, why are we disregarding the mechanisms already in place? Corner stores experience non-stop sting operations from federal, state, and local entities, and SFPD is tasked to enforce things 3 to 4 times over. How do we respond to the fact that the taxes and fees that we pay on our licenses go directly to the very departmental bodies, nonprofits, and lobbies that pretend to be our friends and gather information one day and vilify us the next? This ban on flavored tobacco affects ethnic and import stores, hookah cafes, mom and pop markets, convenience stores, and some of whom will be unable to sell 65% of their inventory. Many, and a conservative estimate of 300, would have to close the stores if this law went into effect. Especially in a moment where there is an explicit ban on particular identities at the federal level, we ask, how do you pledge to protect and retain all the people of San Francisco? Thank you.
Thank you, Miriam. Next, I want to introduce Stefan Vita, who is the president and founder of Not Blowing Smoke. Stefan?
Good morning, everyone. My name is Stefan Vita, and I'm the founder and president of Not Blowing Smoke. We're an organization founded and run by consumers, created in response to the California Department of Health, who did a campaign to mislead the public about electronic cigarettes and vapor products. This campaign has cost over $7 million of taxpayer money and has served no purpose other than to allow ambitious politicians like Supervisor Cohen to push for bad policy. Policy not based on evidence, but emotion and ideology. It discourages smokers from choosing a less harmful product and may even encourage current smokers to abandon the idea of quitting altogether. The state's campaign name bears a close resemblance to ours. You may have run across their big budget ads on TV, radio, buses, billboards, print media, and, well, anywhere else that was willing to sell ad space. San Francisco is a city that's respected for its unwavering efforts in harm reduction during the AIDS epidemic, a city known for its needle exchange programs, a city that embraces harm reduction, except when it comes to tobacco. Current smokers are expected to quit or die. Despite a general consensus in science that e-cigarettes are dramatically less harmful than smoking, public health leaders have been slow to agree. Public Health England recently released guidance that current smokers should be encouraged to use e-cigarettes as a harm reduction tool. Meanwhile, in the United States, many of our public health professionals are encouraging Americans to continue smoking. Tobacco control leaders, including Professor Stanton Glantz of UCSF, agree that e-cigarettes are much less harmful than smoking. However, in a 2016 Reuters survey, nearly 50% of Americans mistakenly believe the opposite. How is that possible? Despite many years of work on kicking butts of the cigarette variety, many trusted institutions have opted to disregard science in favor of prohibition. Smokers and those who've transitioned to vapor products quickly become casualties of their war on smoking. Media campaigns, testimony, and the overall message from public health has been that smoking is no longer a problem, but e-cigarettes are. E-cigarettes cannot legally be sold to minors in any state, and the CDC's most current data shows a sharp decline in youth use and experimentation with vapor products. Cigarette smoking among teens has fallen to a 5-year low. The very concept of a gateway effect fails every aspect of the smell test. The Robert Wood Johnson Foundation, the charity founded by pharma giant Johnson & Johnson, contributed over $4 million to help create the model for these flavor ban prohibitions. Combined with millions more in funding from the pharmaceutical industry and a small army of well-funded lobbyists and paid testifiers, it's no surprise elected officials continue to restrict availability of these potentially life-saving products over the objections of small business owners and consumers. The vapor products industry is primarily composed of small businesses that provide less harmful alternatives to combustible tobacco. Virtually none carry a single product made by tobacco companies. Vapor products have helped reduce the harm of smoking for over 10 million Americans, where all other options have failed. Big Pharma, tobacco control, and so-called public health experts prefer to wipe out a decade of progress and ensure that Californians continue to light up by banning vapor products entirely. Oakland, San Leandro, and Contra Costa County have joined San Francisco in prohibition of less harmful products, while cigarettes remain available at every corner store. If public health is really the goal, singling out only some cigarettes is hypocritical at best, and we hope the voters in this city will make that clear. We all agree minors should not use vapor products or cigarettes. However, we also agree that you probably would like the taste of ice cream better than ashtray. While we applaud efforts to reduce smoking, prohibition has failed. The ordinance passed by San Francisco's Board of Supervisors ensures current smokers will fail to embrace less harmful products. In doing so, the city removed the choice and freedom for adults to purchase a legal product. In a city that welcomes many lifestyle choices and encourages harm reduction in nearly all other aspects, the choice to stop smoking cigarettes is met with hostility and doubt. I would like to thank our coalition partners for taking a stand against this short-sighted ordinance. I place my trust in the voters of this great city. No doubt they believe the Board of Supervisors has far more important things to address before reenacting prohibition nearly 100 years later. Thank you.
Thank you, Stefan. Our next speaker is Gregory Connolly, President of the American Vaping Association. Gregory.
Good morning. Thank you all for coming. My name is Gregory Connolly, and I currently serve as the president of a nonprofit called the American Vaping Association, which advocates for sound and reasonable regulation of vapor products. It is appropriate that today, as we sit here on the steps of City Hall, that we are facing a building with the words truth on it. Because the truth is that without vapor products, I would not be 7 years smoke-free. The truth is that without a watermelon flavored vapor product, I would still be smoking. And the truth is that many of these people, Jennifer Berger-Coleman, one of the most inspirational stories you can hear today, a nurse who quit with apple pie, she would still be smoking. And I am here today to celebrate what will hopefully be the downfall of modern day prohibition in San Francisco before it begins. Now, smoking remains a problem here in San Francisco. I went to the Up Your Alley Festival yesterday, and in between seeing plenty of things, smoking was a major issue at that festival, and there were no booths about quitting smoking, about reduced risk options for smokers. It is still a problem. And so even though I am an advocate for smoke-free nicotine and tobacco products, I still stand here today in opposition to San Francisco's senseless ban on menthol cigarettes. Just about a month ago, I saw one of my personal heroes, Ethan Nadelman, who ran the Drug Policy Alliance for many years, fighting prohibition across all drug sectors. And he stated in his speech at the Global Forum on Nicotine that harm reduction advocates must oppose prohibition at every turn, not just when it's convenient and not just when it's the products that you specifically care about. So I have faith in the voters of San Francisco that they will see this ordinance for what it is: a ban, a prohibition, a nonsensical governmental move that was done without actually speaking to the voters and gathering their thoughts on whether or not San Francisco should enact a modern-day prohibition. Thank you.
Gregory, thank you for those words. Next, we want to focus on a small business owner as well, who also owns a vapor shop retail here in the city of San Francisco. Chris Chin, owner of Gone with the Smoke. Chris.
Good morning, everyone. My name is Christopher Chin. I own Gone with the Smoke vapor shop here in San Francisco, and here to talk about the flavor ban. Since the inception and popularity of electronic cigarettes, or e-cigs, or vaping as you may call it, vaping has been conflated with big tobacco. Big tobacco has very little to do with vaping. If big tobacco has any part in vaping, it is their entry-level devices. Outside of these devices, all of the vapor products on the market are manufactured and sold by independent companies and small mom-and-pop shops. There are tens of thousands of vapor shops across the nation. They provide introduction, training, support, and service for the vaping lifestyle. None of these tens of thousands of vapor stores are in any way affiliated with big tobacco. You want to know a major reason why vaping has become so popular? Simple. It's the flavors. That's right, flavors. For decades, the only way people were able to obtain nicotine was through combustible cigarettes. Many didn't like the flavor of tobacco, but they still liked nicotine, so they had no choice of the delivery method. Now, with the advent of vaping, people can now get the nicotine from a product that is 95% safer and in a flavor that they like. We're all human. We are attracted to flavors that appeal to our taste buds. Just because we're adults doesn't mean we don't like flavors anymore. Just look at all the flavored vodka and various alcohol products. Even Nicorette gum is available in flavors mint, fruit, and cinnamon. My store has been in business in SF providing vapor products for over 3 years. In this time, I have helped hundreds of people in San Francisco and around the globe transition away from combustible cigarettes. My loyal customers always come in asking, any new flavors? It's the flavors that keep them away from combustible cigarettes. And speaking of customers, all of my customers are over 21. No one is allowed in my store if they're under 21, and we take age verification very seriously. If this flavor ban is not repealed, the city of SF will lose more than just revenue. SF will lose one of the top vapor shops in the city, who provides a service to not only local residents, but to travelers. I cannot tell you how many times people fly in from out of state or out of country and have emergency issues that we are more than happy to alleviate. Without my vapor shop or any vapor shops in the city, these situations will force travelers to go back to a cigarette. And for many seasoned vapors, going back to a cigarette is a non-option or a very slippery slope back to combustible cigarettes. Financially, the city looks to lose tax revenue to my store of approximately $50,000 a year. That number will grow each year that we are in business. This number might seem small potatoes, but think about multiplying this number by a number of vape shops that will shutter their doors. Even a conservative number of 10 vapor shops, that's an estimated $500,000 lost in tax revenue. Let's not forget, payroll taxes are lost also. One thing that almost no one touches on is the real estate cost for many of these vape shops. If many shops have multi-year leases and will have to be on the hook to pay for these leases until someone comes in and takes over the empty store. Will the city reimburse the closing vapor store or allow the realtor to nullify the rental agreement? Highly doubtful. Will we continue to be led by our government officials telling us what we can and cannot do? What happens to freedom of choice? What happens to allowing adults to make their own decisions? Why is SF trying to be your new nanny? Just recently, SF Board of Supervisors banned the access of chocolate milk in public schools. Los Angeles tried this many years ago and repealed the ordinance because it failed. Why is SF trying to recreate a failed experiment? Banning flavored tobacco, banning chocolate milk, ban, ban, ban. If no one stands up to our overzealous governing body, they will continue to take away our freedoms. We're going to have to change the city's name to Ban Francisco.
Chris, thank you for those words. Up next, please welcome now Henry Karsinowitz, who is the president of the San Francisco Council of District Merchants Association. Henry.
Good morning, folks. My name is Henry Karnilowitz. I'm the president of the San Francisco Council of District Merchants Associations. We represent 26 associations around the city. Before our members, we're looking well over 3,000 members that we have around the city. Let's face it, what is small business? Small business is the backbone of our community. Without small business, you wouldn't have a corner grocery store to go to. You wouldn't have that ice cream place to go to. You wouldn't have that restaurant to go to. You wouldn't have any of these places. You would just have the shopping malls. That'd be the only place you could go to. And what does small business do? It pays taxes. What else? It provides employment. What else? It helps clean up our streets. There's so much a small business does. And also, where do tourists come? When they come to a city, they go to these places. They want to go and buy goods that they normally can't find in a hotel they're staying at or so forth. But just visiting a place, they go exploring these days, and they want to go to a place like a corner grocery store. The other point that we have to look at is also the online sales. Online sales are having a devastating effect on small business. Small business now is really struggling, trying to come up with a model where they can not only survive, but to thrive. Because when the other gentleman just said a second ago, you know what, there's no rent control on small business. So once your lease runs out, the landlord can increase the rent as much as they want. There's no control on it. So you're really struggling out there to make ends meet. But you know what? Small business is very resilient. They're determined to make it. But do we need more regulation? And that's what the issue is here. More regulations, more regulations, more regulations. How often do you hear of regulations being taken off, being removed, getting rid of? No, it's more and more and more. And this is just another one where we're told that, oh no, we've got to put this regulation in. Let's face it, if people want to buy these flavored cigarettes or whatever, they're going to go online and buy it anyway. In the meantime, your small business is going to suffer. So once again, representing business throughout the city, I would hope that this legislation would not go through at the end of the day. Thank you.
Thank you, Henry. And finally, let me bring up Senior Fellow with the R Street Institute, who has authored many columns and op-eds on the subject of the ineffectiveness of bans and prohibitions like these. Stephen Greenhut. Stephen.
San Francisco Bay Area residents are proud of the region's progressive approach to social issues. The region's residents know that trying to, combat sexually transmitted diseases, drug abuse with abstinence, only ends up endangering people's health. It's not the government's role to moralize about such behaviors, but it can help reduce harm by promoting various safe sex practices and public health strategies such as needle exchange. So why have San Franciscans abandoned this progressive approach in favor of a prohibition approach when it comes to tobacco? Instead of helping people reduce the harm of tobacco use, politicians in San Francisco are banning flavored tobacco and including vaping in the definition. It's a abstinence prohibition type approach. The reason for the supporters' religious-like zeal, they say that tobacco is bad for people. But yes, but vaping is 95% safer than combustible cigarettes. So wouldn't it be wise to make some important distinctions? There's some new research from the Scottish Center for Substance Use Research, and they make the following points. More than 75, it's based on a recent survey, more than 75% of American adults who frequent e-cigarette users surveyed were cigarette smokers when they began using e-cigarettes and have now successfully quit smoking. That's 75%. Less than 5% of current e-cigarette users were non-smokers before beginning e-cigarette use. Approximately 60% of frequent users saw themselves as having no or low dependence on e-cigarettes, and 50% of e-cigarette users expressed an intention to stop using them sometime in the future. Those seem like pretty good statistics. Their data also suggests that frequent e-cigarette use reduces interest in smoking among non-smoker users, is uncommon with concurrent continued smoking, significantly reduces daily smoking among those dual users, has the potential to significantly reduce the harm caused by cigarette smoking, which is the leading cause of preventable disease and death in the United States, and may have prevented an estimated 50% of sampled never smokers from becoming lifetime smokers. That should be good news and should be banning this. When we raise these important points with city officials, we really get no reasonable answer. They basically say that vaping is dangerous. It's a crazy approach. I mean, San Francisco and California in general are going in the opposite direction on marijuana use, which I think is a good idea. Prohibition only leads to black markets. The whole approach reminds me of journalist H.L. Mencken's definition of Puritanism, the haunting fear that someone somewhere may be happy. Former smokers take pleasure in vaping as they break the habit. It's far more enjoyable to sit on the patio and puff an e-cigarette than wear a nicotine patch. And that no doubt infuriates the anti-tobacco zealots. But it's a shame that their puritanical approach is endangering public health. So if San Francisco officials won't be sensible, then it looks like voters might have a chance to be sensible for them. Anyway, thank you very much.
Thank you, Stephen. Thank you for the rest of the speakers for today's press conference. Please be sure to keep up to the information and news that we have within our coalition through our website, our Twitter and Facebook pages. We have a number of experts and speakers here who will be readily available for the media immediately after this press conference. Thank you again for your participation. Thank you for attending today's press conference.
Chips.
got some pictures as well as video, right?
Oh yeah, we're streaming now.
Awesome.
Lots of likes and people watching.
Good.
At least 60
So
people
while you were
watching.
going, were you taking pictures, like for your mom to be able to send me a still?
I didn't. No.
Well.
Oh, I'm sure you could save it. Alright, I'm gonna end it now.